There's a kind of stereotype of the gangster. He strolls into a house and says, "Nice looking places, shame if something happened to it." And that's, of course, is an invitation to placate the gangster with his offerings, with his desires. But of course things do happen to houses, and if you know that your house is going to be destroyed, it kind of makes you wonder how much you really need to invest in it. When there are these people living at the coastline and they know their houses will fall into the sea at one point, how much will they plan to live in it? Are they going to have 10 years, 20 years, 30? It kind of depends how long you think it will last. If you know for sure that your house is going to burn down, how much are you going to put into it? Peter in this reading says, our house is going to burn down. He says, and the earth and everything in it will be disclosed. They'll be dissolved in fire. They'll be set ablaze. So, he says, bearing this in mind, what are you going to do in the meantime? How will you live, knowing that your house, this world, is going to burn down? The Gospel reading, the beginning of Mark, the beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And this is how Mark introduces the whole thing about Jesus coming, about what he thought was the most important features of Jesus' life. He had a little place to write down what he thought everyone needed to know about this story. It's thought there was a kind of standard size of papyrus, of the kind of ancient paper, and that Mark had a piece of paper that size, so he had to fit into it what he could about what was most important. And if you compare the four Gospels, you'll see that Mark is shorter than the other three, and the other three are more or less the same length. They had the next standard size up, so they put more in. But Mark was going for brevity. He was trying to be concise and succinct. So he wrote down what he thought was really important. And what he thought was important was this: "See, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way, the voice of one crying in the wilderness." Now that was a quote from the Old Testament, from Isaiah chapter 40. A voice cries in the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord." They're obviously talking about the same thing. A voice cries. A voice calls out. This reading from Isaiah has these wonderful phrases that we know so well from Handel's Messiah. Every time I read it, I hear the music echoing in my mind. "Comforter, comfort my people. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem. Cry to her, she has served her term." All this kind of thing. And it's talking about these voices. There are three voices in this passage in Isaiah. The voice that cries out in the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord." And why does it wish to prepare the way? It said, "Then the glory of the Lord will be revealed." Then the glory of the Lord will be revealed. John was the voice in the wilderness, preparing the way of the Lord, preparing the way that the Lord's glory might be seen. What is the Lord's glory? Jesus came, but when he first arrived, no one recognised him. So that can't have been the glory of the Lord, because surely someone would have noticed. And as Jesus' career went on, he did things, he spoke things, he taught things, and people were confused, bewildered, entranced, fascinated, curious. Some followed him, some didn't like him, some rejected him. He provoked controversy. Was this the glory of the Lord? Just what was John preparing? He's preparing the way for Jesus to come. But what exactly is the glory of the Lord? As I said recently in one of our little midweek talks, the glory of the Lord was revealed in Jesus on the cross. A lot of Mark's Gospel describes Jesus' passion, his suffering and death and resurrection. The glory of the Lord was revealed. That was the glory. And all this is the build-up to the Lord revealing his glory. You might say, well, how is that revealing his glory? How is that? It says, All people shall see it together. And of course, all people did see it together. But it says in the psalm, mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Mercy and truth. Another way of translating that would be loving kindness and truth. Righteousness and peace. How can righteousness exist if unrighteousness is around it? Because they're at war with one another. They contend with each other. So if there is peace, there cannot be any contention with righteousness. Loving kindness, you can understand. But truth? Do we really want truth about everything? How can these things be reconciled? How can truth and righteousness be at peace in this world where untruth and unrighteousness are so obviously common? How do we answer this riddle? How does the Lord's grace and loving kindness meet this world where untruth and unrighteousness are so common, growing like weeds everywhere? They meet on the cross, where God's mercy, his loving kindness, his faithfulness, his goodness is displayed to us as reconciliation for our wickedness, our evil, our falsehood. There is peace on the cross. That is the glory of the Lord. And here John proclaims that. John announces this is coming. But John stands for the word of the Lord. He proclaims the word of the Lord. He speaks it, for he is a prophet. He is a prophet of the same mould as Isaiah, who wrote the book before. He is a prophet as all the prophets of old, and he is the last one before the Messiah. And the prophets spoke the word of the Lord. For as it says in the book of Isaiah, the word of the Lord stands forever. It does not fade like a flower. It does not wither away like the grass. And the Lord's faithfulness is forever. His loving kindness is forever, because the man's faithfulness is like a flower, it says in that passage from Isaiah. It grows up, it blossoms, and then it withers and dies. That's the best we can do, because that's what we're like. But the Lord does not wither. The Lord does not fade away like the grass. The Lord is present by his Spirit and by his word, and he endures forever. And so the glory of the Lord is displayed in the Son of God as he comes to meet his people. The voices cry out, "What shall I cry? All people are like grass." But then the voice cries out, "O Jerusalem, herald of good tidings, lift it up. Say to the cities of Judah, here is your God. Here the Lord comes with might, and his reward is with him." Jesus is coming. The glory of the Lord will be displayed again when Jesus comes again with power and great glory, as we have been reminded in the last readings from last week. As Peter reminds us, do not ignore this fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like 1 day. Because 1,000 years passed between David and Jesus. And for the Lord it was just like the passing of a day, a moment. Since then, 2,000 years have passed since the birth of Jesus, roughly speaking. Is the Lord slow to keep his promise? Is he slow as we understand him to be slow? Has his word failed? Has he forgotten? Peter says, no, of course not. He is patient. He's waiting. He's waiting because that voice continues to proclaim in the wilderness around us, the desert of this world, make straight the way for the Lord. Because John was the first of many who proclaimed that good news, the good news of the glory of the Lord. John was the first of many who announced the coming of Jesus. The apostles followed him, announcing him. Peter here in this reading announces one day he will come again, make straight the way for him. because in a way he's carrying the same message to us. The passage now runs to our hearts. The way to our hearts needs to be made clear so the Lord can enter. And therefore everyone who echoes these words says, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight the way for him so that he can enter your heart, so that you can enter his way, so that when he comes again, we will be ready with him. For one day he will come, and it says all this will burn up. Our house is going to burn down. What are we going to do in the meantime? Peter says, strive to be found at peace, without spot or blemish, and regard his patience as salvation. The Lord is patient with us. He is keeping the day so that we can turn to him, so that we who know him already can turn to him more fully, so that those that do not know him may have that chance to turn to him and to know him for the first time. And we, his people, we, his servants, are enjoined, tell everyone, let them know, this house is going to burn down because the Lord will come again. Be ready for him. Make ready the way to your hearts that the Lord can enter in. Prepare a way in the desert of this world, for the Lord is coming. John the Baptizer appeared as the messenger long foretold, the one who came before the Messiah. Isaiah spoke of him here. A voice cries out in the wilderness. And Mark recognized that Isaiah prophesied this, that he foretold this. And when John appeared, Mark remembered this and he wrote it down, the quote from Isaiah. And John himself knew this. He said, the one who is more powerful than I is coming after me. I'm not worthy to stoop down and untie the thong of his sandals. I baptized you with water, but he will baptize with the Holy Spirit. We can baptize with water. We can offer the sign of the covenant. But only the Lord can baptize with his Holy Spirit. It is to him that we must defer. He's the one that we're waiting for. He is the one that we're preparing for, that we're preparing ourselves. And the one to whom we speak, the one about whom we speak, the one whom we announce as he is coming. So therefore, do not ignore this fact that with the Lord one day is like 1,000 years. Do not ignore the voice crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. He is patient, but he will come. He will come. And then for those who are ready for him, mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Isaiah says, comfort ye my people, because this news is comforting for us who have believed. For we who have turned to him, remember him and wait for him. He has washed us clean so that we may be found without spot or blemish, that when he comes again, we can indeed be glad. And as we see the world around us slipping away, as we see the world around us fading away and withering away, as we see the world around us, the things we love, disappearing, as we have to let go of all that we've known and loved, we can be comforted knowing that this will one day go away. Not its destruction that is good news, but this is not all we have. This is not all we receive. This will pass away, but something better will come. And Peter says, wait for that thing. Wait for your new home. Wait for it patiently, because you will receive it. Prepare yourselves for it, that when it comes you'll be glad. That is how the Lord would comfort us and encourage us. To wait patiently, knowing that the later things are better than these.